think it's finally time to talk about Sally Rooney's latest novel, Intermezzo. And yes, if you cannot tell, it was a bit windy outside. I went on such a journey with this one. Like, it exceeded all expectations that I had for it because my history with Sally Rooney novels is quite brief. Last year, I read Normal People. I didn't care for it. I wouldn't have been surprised if I never picked up another Sally Rooney novel. But this one, I don't know, I think it was the concept because I'm a 22-year-old and I have an older brother who's 31. And so hearing that it was a story about two brothers with this age gap and how that sort of affects their relationship, especially when they lose their father, that felt quite personally engaging to me because I can appreciate how there is that rift between having like a brother that is so much older, they almost feel like an uncle. So yeah, and I thought that was all done really well. We have a lot to talk about. But yes, Intermezzo, I was there on release day. I got the merch. Think I'm on Faber's Instagram story as well, although it's not a very flattering picture. My neck is sort of craned, like I'm trying to look through the window, like it's a bit weird. I'll put it on. We cannot discuss this novel without first getting into Dostoyevsky, strangely enough, specifically the Brothers Karamazov, because these two novels are so very similar. I even had to look into it, and it turns out, yes, Sally Rooney was inspired by Dostoyevsky's masterpiece, The Brothers Karamazov, and I will explain the parallels. But before you read this, read The Brothers Karamazov. Read that first, then read this. It's a timeless, complex, devastating, debaucherous, epic tome, you know? It's probably his best book. It's his longest book. It does for brothers what Little Women does for sisters. So make of that what you will. But the reason I think I celebrate this book, when I didn't necessarily think that I would, is because it's quite creative in the way that it takes the source material of the Brothers Karamazov. And Sally Rooney, she doesn't just do a rinse and repeat. She changes stuff. There are things that are flipped on their head, there are relationships that are changed, characters that are removed or added in, and I appreciated it. I thought the whole book was so fascinating by looking at it as a like inspired retelling. You know, it's the Brothers Karamazov, if instead of Russia it's Ireland, and it's modern day contemporary relationship dramas, you know, because the Brothers Karamazov, it's centered around a murder. In this, the dad has died from cancer. In the Brothers Karamazov, the dad has been untimely killed in the night, and we spend about 800 pages trying to figure out which of the brothers did it. And they all have more than enough reason to, because in that book, the dad is awful. You know, like the mums are lovely, and they passed away sadly, and the dad gets murdered for being this horrible, debaucherous womanizer. Whereas in this, the mum's not so great, but she's still alive, while the dad, who they loved, has died of cancer. And so a lot of the book focuses on bereavement, coming to terms with loss and grief, and I thought that was all done quite well. Sally Rooney, she's a pretty good writer. Heard it here first. Sally Rooney, she knows her way around a book. I know a lot of people are really bothered by her punctuation or lack of punctuation, particularly in the use of speech without speech marks. It doesn't bother me. You can tell quite clearly on context when a character is talking. Like, that never bothered me last year when I talked about Normal People. I dislike that book for different reasons. But I can see how in that sense her writing is quite polarising. She has such a distinct style, which is both a pro and a con. Like, I can see her alienating people, but also amassing this cult following. Like, the day of the release, there were people queuing out the door, and I think by the time I'd left, because I was the second person into the shop, I got there very early, by the time I left the shop, all of the tote bags had gone. Like, they had very limited stock on all of that stuff. So in the Brothers Karamazov, there are three main brothers. There is Dmitri the eldest, who in this book is Peter. there is Ivan, the middle child, who in this is the younger brother, also called Ivan. And there is the youngest brother, Alyosha, who in this, funnily enough, is actually the Whippet, the dog, Alexei, which I thought was a really cute touch because the three brothers in the Brothers Karamazov, it's almost like they represent the body, the mind and the soul. And Alyosha as the main one is this like, he's very religious, like he follows Father Zosima. And so it was nice to see the soul sort of be symbolised instead by this dog, this Whippet that everyone loves and they keep trying to find a home for because the mum is terrible and doesn't want to look after the dog. So I thought that was very clever. The eldest brother in the Brothers Karamazov, Dmitri, is in a love triangle. Like he has two different women on the go. He has Katerina, his like lover that he has a more sort of concrete relationship with, like it's actually romantic. And then his other lover, Grushenka, who is she's an escort. And that is also what essentially happens in Intermezzo. Peter has two lovers. He has Sylvia, who we met first. He has this romantic connection to, but then she's in a horrific accident and now lives with like chronic pain, and that's affected their relationship and caused it to break down. And then he also has Naomi, who is basically Grushenka, even down to the fact that she has like kind of like an OnlyFans, she posts adult material for money, which, by the way, this book, there are moments where this book feels a bit backwards, a bit antiquated in its views. Like there's so much judgment on Naomi's character for creating illicit content for men, and making money out of that, and it's like, is it not 2024? Like I just found it very strange that Sally Rooney writing this now felt more judgmental of a prostitute than Dostoyevsky did over 100 years ago. Like that was very interesting. Like Grushenka in the Brothers Karamazov, even Sonia in Crime and Punishment, they're treated with so much more compassion than some of the descriptions of Naomi in this. But hey, Ireland, I guess. Damn Catholics. I suppose the reason I'm making all of these comparisons is, well, one, because these two books, one was clearly inspired by the other, but also it completely coloured my perception of this novel. I don't think I would like it half as much if I wasn't looking at it through that Dostoyevsky lens and seeing like an artist appreciating another artist and create their own interpretation of a similar story. Because it's not as entertaining, it just isn't. Dostoyevsky, The Brothers Karamazov is like a 6-star book. It's one of the best things I've ever read. I read it when I was like 16 and I still remember quite a bit about it because it has staying power. This is also very good, but you know, I would definitely pick that book over this one because that one as well is just so electrifying. Like the whole thing is based around a murder. There's all of these court scenes as well, which is interesting how that translates into this one where the eldest brother is a lawyer, whereas in the Brothers Karamazov, Dmitri is like the accused, like he's put on trial for the murder of his dad. So would I recommend this book? Yes, I had a great time with it, but as I said, I would read the Brothers Karamazov first, just so that you can see the parallels, because it was fascinating. I had a great time with it. Even if that hadn't been there, I still think this book I would have appreciated it on a personal level just because I have that connection to it. Like I saw a lot of myself in the character of Ivan, and I also saw a lot of my brother in the character of Peter and how their relationship worked. So this was always going to be very special to me because I feel that brotherly connection that the book is telling us about and how family can overcome grief. Like it's very poignant. I mean, come on, this is so much more interesting than normal people. Like, by virtue of that, I would check it out.